Alright, so I can start off with a recap of where we are in the whole journey of building everything. I have paused the current refactor on the editor because I was just spending a lot of time making utility, like small utility functions for large objects. So basically, I would define an object, like an editor asset or whatever, and then after defining that editor asset, I would then have to go through and define like a couple functions to help initialize all of those track variables, and then I would have to make a serializer for everything. I would have to make like a serializer for at least reason, possibly for binary serialization as well. And the problem with that was like, now if I wanted to make sub-objects, so I could have like nesting, better hierarchy for accessing things, better hierarchy for accessing things, I would have to like 20 lines of load for serializing, and then another 10 lines for initializing variables, and there's like track variables, making sure like they initialize variables, just a lot of, there was a ton of boilerplate, and unfortunately I've used Rust, so I know what a proc macro is, or specifically derived macros. And in that language, you can just like derive macro, do all the boilerplate for it, and it just does that. And that like traits, which are what proc macros, or not proc macros, derived macros define, is already one of the things I had planned to put into BraneScript. I wasn't necessarily planning on doing derived macros, but I was definitely planning on doing traits. But I'm like, okay, what if I go the one step further, create derived macros, and then like instead of defining all of my editor concepts and UI in C++, where it's like super unergonomic to do those things. We love IMP is pretty ergonomic. What if instead of defining all of this in C++, what if I just finish BraneScript so we could actually build stuff in the engine, and then rebuild the parts of the editor that are unergonomic to build in C++ in BraneScript, and then just like, I have a tool to fix these problems I'm running into, or rather, I'm building a tool to fix these problems that I'm running into already. Why don't I just finish that and then come back to this stuff that's taking me forever? So, really? Because like, I have it set really, really low. Oh, it's Synthwave audio. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. So it was actually supposed to be that volume. Not the other volume. There's other volume hidden in my overlay, which I feel like I ran into that problem last stream as well. Dang it, I was like recording, I've like gotten back into recording streams too. So it was like, that was like my intro, where if like I posted a video of the recorded streams. Dang it. Basically, to recap, I've been spending a lot of time, resetting. I'm gonna do the whole, like, explanation of what we're doing again. again. Alright, to recap what we're doing, you'll notice that I'm currently not working on the editor anymore. We're in the BraneScript repo, and that's because with the current refactor we were doing on the editor, I was running into I was having to write a lot of boilerplate for basically every single class I defined, because we were like adding in a state system, and we refactored the serializer so it works in a lot more maintainable way. The problem is, like, all of that meant that I was defining just a ton of boilerplate. And unfortunately, I've used Rust in the past, and Rust has a thing called derived macros, where if all the traits in a class, or not a class, a struct, define a certain trait, you can just say derive, and then that trait, and then that structure will derive that trait from its members. Which means, like, all of the work I was doing on all of those classes, and, like, writing 60 lines of code per class for, in the worst case scenario, usually it would only be, like, 40-ish. So, like, if I made a nested struct inside of a settings object, I'd have to write, like, 30 to 40 lines of boilerplate to get that actually working. And there could be, like, small bugs in, like, the naming of variables that cause the serializer to break. In Rust, I would just be able to do derived macro. And this got me thinking, wait a second. I'm already going to do traits in BraneScript. What if I went a little bit further and put derived macros in there as well? That means that I would be spending a lot less time on that part of the refactor and could actually focus on doing it. So, what if instead I held off on the editor refactors I was doing, went over and actually finished BraneScript, which would also have the side effect of us being able to actually make stuff in the engine, which is more important than the editor at this point, even though I do find, like, the dev tools will be more important than the actual capabilities of the editor. But what if we finish this scripting language that would make all of this easier, and then just write the editor in this, or at least the UI of the editor and the editor assets? What if we wrote that in BraneScript with only utilities in C++, instead of just writing everything unergonomically in C++? Yeah, so we have switched back over to working on the scripting language, and off stream I've done a little bit of plumbing, not plumbing, not refactoring. What's the word I'm looking for? Organization. We now have a subrepository of Brane utilities for sharing types between the two repositories. I didn't necessarily want these types to be, like, in BraneScript and then inherited by the engine. I didn't think that made a lot of sense, even though there are things from the scripting language that the engine will inherit, like the pipeline system for multi-threading and whatnot. Oh, I haven't done any edited devlogs. Oh wait, actually I have kind of done devlogs. I'm thinking edited streams. I have done edited devlogs. It's been a hot minute since I've actually done a true edited devlog. Hopefully I can start doing this again, though. But yeah, so I copied over a couple of types from the BraneScript repo, which, excuse my LSP, these probably aren't actually errors. But I have, like, Rust-inspired result types for error checking. We have this is supposed to be in here. But we have a threading, like, mutex type as well. It's kind of like a, like the type is stored inside of the mutex instead of the mutex being a separate thing, so you're forced to lock it to access the value. Lots of Rust-inspired, like, safety things. And I want to share those between the editor and the scripting language without them being, like, directly tied to the scripting language. So we set up a separate repository, threw all of that in there. And then I'm not a fan of forcing people to use submodules. They're a little bit unergonomic for active development. Very nice that, like, submodules force you to find exactly which commit you're expecting to use, but when I'm actively developing and that's changing every 2 minutes, that's a little bit too static. So I should probably change the README as well to reflect this change, but we don't currently use submodules anymore because I also refactored to use fetch content for now. I'm not sure if I need this CMake variable here for local development yet. That's something yet to be seen because it seems to be inconsistent to whether it's actually able to configure CMake when I have changes in the repo or not. But so far it seems to be working with this fetch content declaration, so may delete this and this branch of this if statement later. But for now, we'll just continue with this, with the, like, options for Brane utility dev or whatnot. But basically what this means is instead of people having to do get submodule update init recursive remote, instead they just run CMake configure and it automatically pulls repositories into the local structure underneath a get ignored directory. Hopefully it's get ignored. That's a good thing. I'm going to test. Yes, it is get ignored. So any changes to these, you of course have to push up to the respective repositories. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. And then yesterday, I finally settled on a good, like, V1 target for the what the scripting language should look like. So if we open up target grammar here, resize this a little bit so we can see comments kind of. You're trying to scare me. Don't do that. It's scary. But yeah, so this is kind of, very Rust-inspired syntax, of course. But of course we have pipelines, which are the entire point of the language. And I redid the syntax from what I had before. If I open up the previous example scripts, you can see we still have, like, the pipeline segment syntax, but then there's this separate bit, this little separate bit of code here. We have this little separate bit of code here, which were what I was calling asynchronous operations. And here, I need to drink water. Give me a second. My voice is trying to die on me 10 minutes into the stream. But yeah, so with asynchronous operations here, like, oh, these things are happening in between these two pipeline statements. Very, very verbose, very, because, like, I wanted it to be very clear that, like, these aren't happening synchronously. They're, like, things that happen between pipeline stages that the runtime handles, because multi-threading stuff. But I'm like, I don't feel like this would be very ergonomic to code, so I really wanted to come up with a better solution. So now we have this pipeline stage format, where instead of square brackets for every bit of code, it's now more of like a list syntax where we have square brackets for the entire body of the pipeline. And then set of curly brackets. I didn't want to do a comma. I think it'll parse out just fine without a comma, and not having a comma means you can copy paste them around without having to worry about if you like are rearranging them in like from the end upwards. I don't know. Very, very nitpicky thing. And yeah, so instead of asynchronous operations, instead I have like magic functions is, I think they're called magic functions, but continue is essentially our return statement, and it's formatted as a function. I'll have the LSP like color it differently when I get around to doing dev tools, so it's a little bit more clear. But continue, skip to these are our like control flow statements. So continue moves on to the next pipeline stage. We can pass to the next pipeline stage whatever values we want. And additionally, we can define dependencies that pipeline stage depends on, but doesn't necessarily need values from. We could pass T1 and T2 into the actual arguments field, but then we would have like unit type arguments. So like the variable name would like show up, but then it would be like a null type you can't get any values from. I was considering making this look like a C# clone, but then I'm like, it would look the language would just look a lot nicer and be a lot more cohesive if I just didn't worry about that, and I don't think it matters too much in the long term because I'm making a node scripting system at some point. So it's like, if you want to do simplest stuff, the node scripting system will be how you do that. So the syntax of what the language looks like probably should like be in such a way where it's not trying to look like another language, and it's built in such a way where it will work with the node scripting system. That's actually one of the reasons why I did like Swift type argument labels, is because if this is getting parsed out to a node, like a visual scripting system, this means if we change function arguments with like the LSP or whatever, it won't get like what values are going and where mixed up, I guess. Streamlabs messing up. I guess I have gone full VTuber. I mean, I already was kind of VTuber with like the headset aesthetic and whatnot, but I guess this is full VTuber now. But yeah, and then break is the return statement for the language. I really don't want to use like return as just like a conceptual thing, because pipelines, it's like it takes in data, it does transformations on it, and then like it moves on to whatever's after the pipeline. Whereas like with functions, it's like you go off, you do the thing, but then you return the value back to where you called it from. I don't want pipelines to like return back to where they were called from, even though pipelines can like inject pipelines into themselves. That's what we're doing here with like T1 and T2, is this end stage is waiting on the result of these two pipelines. So that is essentially like a return statement. But I don't want that to be like part of the grammar that like we always return back to where we're called, because we don't. So instead I have like break, which this I could use a continuous statement here because it's the last one. But if I wanted to like end the pipeline in an earlier stage and you know, I guess, return an output value. I need to come up with like better terminology for that. But like pass along an output value. From an earlier stage, you'd use break, but break isn't required here. It could be continue, and that's probably going to be the preferred syntax. It is very, yeah, this is very Rust inspired. It's like a love letter to Rust, but I'm probably not going to code a borrow checker because borrow checker seems like an absolute nightmare to code myself, and then it would be like worse to work with than the Rust borrow checker because I coded it badly. So, and also this is like a game dev scripting language, so it needs to like let people code stuff like fast and dirty. Because that's how game dev works. Like I'm gonna take a lot of inspiration from Rust, just like in the avoidance of errors, but the borrow checker probably isn't one of them, because borrow checker is like extreme overkill. Instead, I'll do like a little bit of borrow checker where it's like an async borrow checker where I just use mutexes for runtime stuff. So like pipeline stages, this shared type here, this shared type is essentially both a pointer and a mutex. So when we pass a shared into a pipeline, it can be converted into like a mutable reference, so a changeable reference, and the runtime itself will handle all of like the conversion of this shared to a mutable reference. So this is kind of like a handle. You can't edit it or read the value, and then you have to change it to a ref or a mut ref to actually read or write to the value. And that will tell the runtime like, okay, which pipeline stages can run in parallel, how can they handle, how to handle all the scheduling stuff. And that's just like extracted from the grammar and the types we use, rather than having people manually manage scheduling. That's the point of the language. But we do kind of need to get this working as fast as possible, and there's a lot of concepts just in these two functions that are pipelines. They're not functions. We will have functions, but mostly pipelines. There's a lot of like grammar concepts and like automatic finding of values. Like this let statement is automatically doing this into a shared I32, for instance. There's a lot of like intrinsic, is intrinsic the right word? Automatic stuff. For instance, also pipeline stages are optionally named, and they also have function signatures for like the arguments they pass in. Like you'll see here, I manually define the arguments for this pipeline stage, even though I don't, because it's inherent. The first pipeline stage needs to be the same as the pipeline itself, because it's just being passed those values. Which means I should actually pass the count in here too, if I was doing that correctly. So this is a more accurate grammar now that I deleted that. But yeah, all I'm saying is there's a lot of work to be done before I can actually write all of this and actually parse it and then actually compile it. So we have a simpler version here, which this is like the first thing we're going to try to do, which is a pipeline where we have a starting value, and then we add stuff to it in one pipeline stage, and then we go to another pipeline stage here, and we add a second value to it. So this is like our simpler test case. Essentially, like your hello world when you make languages, your hello world is 2 plus 2 equals 4. So this is our 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6 test case, because this tests that we can do pipeline stages. Now, ideally, I do an even simpler test case that is just one pipeline stage, but to do that, I can just only compile one of the test stages. So I think this is our test case grammar. I might even need to define like the values of these. It's pretty easy to do auto values. We can keep it like that and just add in auto values from the beginning. Yeah. So let's just dive right in and see where we need to go from here. I think the first thing we need to do is edit the grammar. Would not be in Brane utilities, that would be here. And we're going to edit the grammar so that it parses this instead of this. So the syntax of pipelines, functions, modules, that all stays the same. The syntax of pipelines does need to change, though. One segmentation fault. Potentially. Ideally, we have no seg faults, though. And we don't have sources and sinks anymore. Instead, we have not necessarily function signatures, which is what I called them in my test grammar, but we need I guess a call signature would be a better, more the thing agnostic. Call this a call sig, not a thing. Thing agnostic with it. A functor agnostic? Would I call pipelines functors? Callable thing agnostic. I don't know what to call it. Anyway, so first we have field. We'll call this field the args. This is a sequence that is an opening parentheses, if I can remember where that is on the keyboard. And I know I've done this for like source definitions, I think. Yeah, ID and then type. Moot ID type. I can reuse this in a lot of places, actually. Because this could be... Let's just call this a value definition instead. So... because this... Hopefully I didn't call anything else a value def. Okay, good. Oh. Because I know somewhere in here we'd have a let. Okay, so I called that a variable definition, not a value definition. Okay. And then in our call signature, I can just yoink the code for source list. What does my formatter do? Nice, my formatter works. So what this will do is parse this part of that, and then the other part of call signatures that we want is field not return, but yeah, output is what we'll call this. We want to throw all of this into optional, I believe. And this is also a sequence. Yeah. Throw an arrow operator in there. And then I want essentially this again. I want a tuple definition. Because that's another thing is, you see how we have, what we're passing into args here, this is a, normally this would be close to how you define a tuple. Like usually parentheses are for tuple definitions, which for those who don't know, tuples are when you pack a number of variables together into one variable, but you don't name those variables. So like tuple member 1 would be the first variable, member 2 would be the second. And like there's various different implementations, but what you need to remember is the tuple itself doesn't have a name, and the members also don't have names. And then there's anonymous structs where you do give names to the members, and members are like the values in it. So in this case, this would be an anonymous struct, not a tuple. But I'm kind of using the syntax for defining tuples because I think it looks nicer than curly brackets. I also think it'd be easier to type. Yeah, and it also means I can reuse the same parsing syntax here and here. So, what am I going to name this? So I do want this to work standalone. You will need like a desktop to build stuff for it, at least initially. I like a very long term would like a VR based editor, but yeah, I do want it to build the Quest. That's like, as soon as I get a desktop client working and you can actually like walk around in VR, and like download assets and see those assets, VR side, I do want to port that to a headset and actually see everything in headset, because that is a doorway to things like funding. But I do want that to be standalone as well. Like I don't think this whole thing works if it doesn't work on standalone headsets. Just tuned in. Why are you in the Matrix? Because I'm trapped here, obviously. Who codes in a headset? It's like, it's blurry. We're going to do... See, the thing is... Are you on Twitch and YouTube right now? Yep, multi-streaming. I'd say make everything compatible, but let people tag worlds to say if they're optimized for Quest or not. See, I could, but that's locking... I think that locks stuff down more than I want to. I'd honestly prefer for worlds to just be cross-platform by default, and then let it kind of be like more of a word of mouth / like... That's not something I currently have a system planned for, is like barricading access to worlds based on system requirements. I feel like it should be much more of like a... if you want to try to load that, go ahead. Welcome to Twitch. Yes, there are ads on Twitch, because that is the platform that I am monetized on. If I was a better streamer, I would do the thing like Pirate Software does, where like I actually plan out when to do ad breaks. But yeah. So this is not necessarily... So this is like a constructor for anonymous structs, where we're passing in expressions instead of types. And this isn't what we want to do. Instead, the grammar that I want right here, and I don't need asynchronous operation, that is no longer a grammar concept. Instead of a grammar, we are going, well, not instead of a grammar, instead of whatever I just deleted. You code it in Java. Nope. I, like, have touched the language once for Minecraft mods, which I didn't get too far deep into. I, like, made a couple custom objects and then gave up. And then... No, that's really the only real Java programming I've done. Yes, this is an Avali avatar. Let's see. What was I doing? Right. So this is a anonymous struct type definition. It's like being small in VR. It's fun. One like weird thing I have seen that's like, you know, VR chat culture that nobody talks about but you just like pick up on, is like tall people usually have short avatars in VR. And it's the funniest thing. Like if they're tall IRL, they choose like a really short avatar in VR, like minuscule, tiny, like 2 feet tall or less, and then like your average short person. Oh, I did not click that. Hand tracking? What are you doing? Come on, can I have like... It's not even like giving me a pointer to fix that. Okay. There we go. That's better. Anyway, what I was saying was like, and then of course short people are like the ones in the 8-foot tall e-boy avatars. But then again, just the short avatars are fun in general. What's that again? Right. Okay. I'm just gonna like go for it. We're gonna call this an anon struct height. True. It is lore accurate. Can confirm. So right now I'm running the Quest 3. Usually for virtual desktop scenarios, what I prefer is the AVP, just because I bought one for dev stuff that's sitting over there. And the way it's like, it's nicer. It's like, I can't remember what percentage higher resolution it has, but it's somewhere in the range of like 15 to 20%, and that like little extra bit of res is very nice because I can see mostly the same on the Quest 3, but it is like noticeably slightly blurrier, by like 20%. No, I do not need viewers. I'm fine. Thank you. Yup. Oh, let's see this. So I was looking at the meme channel first. Chance of being implemented, number of requests to a dev, accurate. Let's see. And then into here, we're just gonna throw this. And that's our anonymous struct definition. Do you recommend upgrading from the Quest 3 to the Quest 3 from the 2? It really depends. It does have a lot more graphical power. The lenses are very nice. Like, they are some of the nicest lenses. In some ways, they're better than the AVP lenses. Like, the $4,000 headset, it has, like, better lenses than that. For, like, at least gaming, like, the sweet spot is better. There's something about the AVP lenses that makes my eyes feel weird in a way that the Quest 3 lenses don't. I do notice less eye strain on the AVP over long periods of time, though. So it's like, it's weird, where it's like, consistent discomfort, ramping discomfort. I don't know. But that's like after 5 hours of streaming and looking at blurry displays. So take that with like a grain of salt. Not common use case. And so I would say it's like, if you spend a lot of time in VR, definitely upgrade. Also, I guess think about the Quest 3S, that would be a lot less of an upgrade. Because that still uses Fresnel lenses instead of the upgrade to pancake lenses. I don't know. I'd wait for the Thrill review. It's probably coming out sometime this week. When I put my Quest 2 on, after I got adjusted to 3, don't release. I just mean, like, after looking at screens in VR for, like, a hot minute, like, sometimes I can get a little bit of eye strain. I think it mostly probably is that I'm, like, reading blurry text a ton. So it's probably a little bit of mental strain mixed with the physical, like, I don't know. Will you be able to hook into other APIs pretty easily? You mean like direct RTMP streaming from the engine? I don't currently have that planned. I would like to have native like streamer tools, like cameras, in there. Like that's definitely like a big deal. Like I want to make it very streaming / content, like make it easy to produce content in the engine, because like how do you get publicity about a thing? You make it easy to make stuff about the thing. Yeah, I don't plan on directly piping video out of the engine. One thing I would like to do is like desktop sharing, and that technically is like a streaming thing. So I guess I will have some streaming elements in there, and like video codecs and whatnot. But that's like a later discussion thing. So, like, I'm writing a whole coding language. We gotta get that working first. We have our anon struct. Very 4chan-esque type. You mean for like the cameras and stuff? No, I mean like I just plan on like making camera controls for like what the game view looks like, because like for instance, oh that's weird. Like the way that I'm doing this is literally just it's a screen recording of the game window. So it would just like work like that. Where like in OBS, using my mouse to turn the camera. That's weird. Okay. It's gonna use the OC laser. Not the engine or framework giving the video out for rendering geometry. No, for rendering the geometry, of course it's using the engine. Why is it mirrored? So that it looks like my avatar's looking at the code. It's like, I am facing the code. I am speaking towards the code. No, for the most part, I'm building everything custom. So, like, I'm not really sure what you're asking for the... What is the Osu laser project, I guess? I guess I'm just really not sure what you're really getting at. When I say, like, streamer and content tools, I really just mean, like, stuff to make the game window look nice so you can capture with OBS easily. But other than that, like, stuff mostly works the same. And then for, like, desktop sharing, then that's, like, custom, like, screen capture using Windows APIs and then streaming that with, like, NVEC or whatever. Or the AMD equivalent. Theoretically, I could move things to look better without actually mirroring it. But it's like, I have the tree, and then there's also the comment to the comment that you can't see to the right of the tree. But if I move the camera, you can see, oh, there's the there's the comment. It's like all nicely framed and stuff. If I like had actually done that. Buffering. Unacceptable. Meaning the game engine does not render the game? Oh no, the game engine is definitely rendering the game. Okay, where else do I need to put this? I'm just gonna call this... Rename this with the... I can't. I'm gonna call this anon struct type. And then for constructing it instead, which is the sync list is the just anonymous struct. And then instead of sync def, this is a member initialization. Because we can use this on regular structures as well. Instead of, maybe I go with like my, just the type name for creating it, and then init for, not init, but like, so I have value def. So would I just call this a value? Or would I call this member def? Because this is definitely... can be used inside of structures, but also like in variable definitions. Like I can throw literally just say let, and then do value def here. And that just works. That's exactly the same. Oh, that's just how graphics programming always works. Right now I don't have swappable backends, so everything is going to use Vulkan. You know, like, software rendering would not work at all for anything VR. At all. Unless, like, I'm writing, like, a nanite system, and for, like, very small pixels and parts of the screen, a software renderer can be... Actually, no. Did they do a compute shader software renderer? Is that what they meant? And then it's still on the GPU, but it's like a software renderer because it's not using the graphics pipeline. I don't know. So this, instead of sync def, we'll do member init. It's a good name for this grammar concept of a member that is named and you're setting its value in place. I didn't call this inline member? No. Well, I think member init works for now until I come up with a better name. We gotta clear up the Discord notifications real fast here. Alright. And we're back. Discord notifications have too much power over me. Alright, so that's a variable definition. Do I want to force there to be an assignment here? Yes. I do want to force there to be initial value always. And I wonder Now that I'm directly linking to the this project, would it be possible for me to directly get the enum types that it defines? It's like, this is all I have to work with now, and then you have to do like the string comparisons that Tree gives you through their like generic API. But see, these are all the things I defined, and that this is all the basically this is the generated oh, the enum is in the C file. I don't like that. And then we have every single field name, and I would love to have this enum exposed for easy parsing. I wonder if and I'm just thinking here. So what it exposes is, and I do want to keep it as tree sitter because like the thing that this is currently using is tree sitter. Like NeoVim, the editor I'm using currently, is using tree sitter for some tokenization here. I think I can even do like I do. It has to be. I have done the command before. I know that there's like a tree sitter, not tree tree sitter show tree. Is it TS show tree? But yeah, it's like a I've done this view before. Ah, inspect tree, that's what I'm looking for. So if I go and I go inspect tree, like this is the tree of the C file that we're currently in, and the tree sitter parsing of that file. Which made me just realize there's a tree sitter parser. Nope, I gave up on that idea. I'm not going to pursue that. But theoretically, like if I got if I finish this tree sitter parser for my language, I could then make a like nvim plugin and like have just using the same parser actually used for the language in there. But the problem with the tree sitter API is it works through strings to figure out what nodes you're actually interacting with. Whereas I would like it to be statically typed. I would much prefer to like directly use this enum because I can get these numbers through the API. But like right now I just generate a lookup table on start that I manually define it at an enum like this. And then all of these yeah. But here's the thing. What if so this one C file, this one is just one C file. This singular C file contains the entirety of the parser. And this is what I was looking for. Now we're cooking. This is what you pass to the API to actually initialize the parser. So. Here's here's what we're going to do. Instead of actually linking to tree sitter, to think about the right way to do this, let me look at the CMake file real fast. So it has a custom command. This generates parser C. What's the name of the command? Wait, does add custom command just run the command? Do I just have to configure and it generates the parser? Do I not need to actually rely on a build target? Hello. Let's see. Come on, Brane. Does this just run it on configure? Add a custom build rule to the generated build system. Man, this page is like... This format is the worst to read in the headset. Like, light mode is unreadable in the Quest 3. Because, like, the light bleeds. It might also be the compression of Steam Link. It's like the two of them, like, combine forces to make it unreadable. But let's see what we can come up with here. Finds a command to generate specified output files, a target direct created in the same directory. Specifies the custom command. Source file is given a role to generate the file using the command at build time. Do not list the output in more than one independent target that may build in parallel, or instances of the rule may conflict. Instead, use add custom target command to drive the command and make other targets depend on that one. You're saying, since you're listing the file, which is the output, in a library, that's making it trigger this command because this is defined as the output. Okay. I have tried to understand that command for so long, but this is such a good example of how to use it. I'm going to use this at some point, for sure. But I am worried about this do not list the output in more than one independent target that may build in parallel, or the instances of the rule may conflict. I am worried about that line, because if I am still building this target, just because it's in my build tree, that is problematic. But what this tells me is that if I rely on this file, it will trigger this custom command. So if I go to, not the compiler, I think the parser. Well, actually, why not just use virtual desktop instead of Steam Link? Because virtual world. Otherwise, it would just be me in a headset. Yes, I do use virtual desktop when I am in sort of IRL mixed reality. But like if I'm fully in VR, I can't use virtual desktop. At least not ergonomically. See, this is where I'm linking the type. What my crazy plan is to say, I guess I could use virtual desktop if I was then again still using the same setup I am now of screens through Steam, I guess. I guess that would work. Okay. Now, right, my mad scientist plan would be to like target include directories, and then I need like a total squirrel moment. But here, there's a very specific string that I want that I think I deleted. Ah, here it is. Now if I go over here and I say cursor private, don't want this linking or leaking out, and we just do source. Now from inside of, let me just actually built the database real fast because I've been surprised with Steam Link. It's just very, very convenient. Just works. I mean, Virtual Desktop just works as well. But I've been trying out Virtual Desktop because I found it recently. It's also interesting because I know one of the people who work on it, so I want to see their work. Right. Going to compiler CPP. And since we would only ever use tree sitter stuff inside of the C file and never expose that to an H file, I would be able to say include parser C. Actually, not parser. I don't want compiler. I want parser. This is what I want. I would be able to include parser C. If I restart my LSP real fast. Oh, the configure failed. Oh, did I put a semicolon somewhere? Yeah. I find killer to work, at least locally. Okay, so that worked. If I restart my LSP so it reloads the compile commands. Aha! Unknown type name, TS state ID. Oh wait, is it defined? No, I don't want. Okay, we're back. It's defined here. Maybe I just need to not include tree sitter API. Let's also delete tree sitter Brane script so it's not a redefinition. Suspicious include. Yes, it is suspicious. Included file with unknown type name, TS state ID. I think that's fine, but that. Let me just make sure my grammar is valid right now, at least grammatically. Yeah. And we're gonna try building, like, fully, and just seeing if it does, with parser C included like that. Actually, I know there's gonna be linker errors, because duplicate. I'm including a C file, because the C file has enums in it that I want. It's an auto-generated C file, so as long as I don't link to the library that this is trying to produce, I would then be able to access those enum values. This auto-generated enums. Alright, I think we're sticking around though. So configure work, build failed. New reference, undefined symbol property error. Find symbol source list. Huh? Did I remember to not link to... Oh, I didn't remember. That was what was going to cause the linker error. Can I say that a target depends on a result? Multiple targets. Output table CSV. Ooh, I could do add custom target to make sure I trigger that. Generate parser. C depends on tree sitter source. Parser C. Then I would link to, actually, say that a target depends. Okay, so I would do add dependencies. To So now that should run. So JavaScript is just how TreeSitter defines its grammar. No JavaScript makes it to the final build. Come on, VC package, you don't have any work to do. This worked. Isn't TreeSitter supposed to... Isn't this supposed to say... Oh, this is comment. It's not like a... Well, it should comment. It should say generating parser. At least I think. So it does know what file I'm referencing though, which makes me think that that's working. I don't know that it's generating correctly. But it's failing to... actually load... Wait, failing to load grammar.js? Failed to load grammar.js. Oh. There must be... there must be problems in it. So what I'll do... Undefined symbol source list. So it's alright. I'm completely dropping the weird function calling syntax that I was using before, and instead we're gonna say this is an anon struct, anonymous struct, which we won't actually use as an anonymous struct. This is just like the grammar. It uses the exact same grammar as an anonymous struct with optional variables. Potentially. We'll see. Let's try running this again since I don't have a lot of mental RAM right now. Source list is still. Wait a second. So it's an unstruct type. Wants a scoped identifier, and then this wants a call signature. That is a call, so I do want those to be expressions, I think. That looks correct. Async operation, did delete that. Honestly, this just could be repeat pipeline stage. Then we want this to use curly brackets instead. All good. Lurking is just fine. Do I want to do the Rust thing where you can do an optional return expression? I do. Well, actually, this is a pipeline stage. So no, I don't want that. I do want to unblock though. Good morning, Jack. How goes? Alright, let's see if this is functional yet. No. We have an undefined symbol. Nothing. Means I have a empty something or other somewhere. I wonder if this actually gives me line numbers. At normalize, at field, what's he called? At grammar, there we go. 306. Grammar JS 10. Oof. That doesn't give me anything. At grammar 306 maybe? Do I have 300 lines of code in here? No, I don't. Only nearly 200. Full signature. Oh, this is in grammar.js, so line 44. There we go. Oh, yeah, that's an empty arcs field. So in here, I want anon struct type. Result conflict symbol sequence. I mean, I wouldn't let be. I guess if I'm doing the Rust thing where every single thing is an expression. Wait a second. How is variable definition let? And this should always be a variable definition in here. Complaining about false signature. Hello. I just saw somebody load in, but I can't see you because you are behind the screens. Hello. I should have the screen. Let me check. I should have the in-instance screen set to the stream if it reloads. It should actually be watchable in here. See if it actually works. It does. Okay, let me reposition in front of camera. There we go. I do want to change it so you can see the comment. There we go. Cool. Oh, right. Okay. Was I Right, we're figuring out the ambiguous grammar here, where it can't figure out if the call signature and then... Wait a second, that's weird. Function scoped identifier. So this is only... Is this only in function? No. This is... specifically inside of a block statement. It's a block statement that's ambiguous, I think. Because it's the call sig and then block. I was focusing in on the call sig, but block, I think block is the culprit here. Because block is where we get that curly brace from. Let's see, there's the the curly brace here. And then wait a second. Is it? Is it ambiguous about whether it's doing a return No, it looks like it's ambiguous of whether it's a let statement or a variable definition. Do I do let in two different places? No, the instance isn't currently open to everybody. I have it a little bit more locked down because I want to focus a little bit better. So right now it's like, there's a certain group role that I can give people. So some people are able to get in, but not everybody. I don't know why this is ambiguous, because variable definition is an expression. Whereas this grammar right here is just variable definition. Oh, wait a second. No? Specify a higher precedence in call than the other values. Specify a higher precedence in variable definition than other roles. Specify a left or right associativity in variable definition. Maybe... I do want the precedence. I think it's... Where's block? There it is. It's an expression. Variable definition should be... The precedence of calling is already high. What are you working on currently? So currently, we're back to working on Brane script. I was running into a lot of issues in the current like editor refactor that I figured would be a lot easier to solve in a language that had something like Rust drive macro. And I realized like that's something that I was already very close to adding to BraneScript, or rather, well, close to deciding to add to BraneScript. So what if I just finish BraneScript and then go back to that editor refactor and rewrite everything in BraneScript? So that's what we're doing. Is we're like finishing BraneScript, which is gonna take a couple weeks, or months, and then we'll finally get back to the editor refactor. But having BraneScript will be good because that means we can actually build stuff for the engine and it will be like actually usable. No. So we're going back to the non-detour thing, and then we'll go back to the detour thing, because working on BraneScript isn't the detour. BraneScript is the like main thing that needs to get done right now. So it's like I can fulfill the detour by working on what I'm supposed to be working on. See, this is a benefit. Oh, there's different precedents here. Why is it being the way that it is? Because this statement doesn't look ambiguous to me. This looks like, come on, VRChat menu. Can you, like, go away? There we go. Call is at a higher precedence than the other rules in expression. There's a variable call here. And I can't figure out if this would be extra things and then the call? I think what I want is left associativity in variable definition. Given rule is left associative. Left associative. LR1 conflicts arise where all the rules have the same numerical precedence. True sitter will consult the rule's associativity. If there's a left associativity, a rule true sitter will prefer matching a rule that ends earlier. Which this one right here, this one ends earlier. Let's try left precedence here, and hopefully that means we are able to actually parse it. higher the precedence, the more it happens first, right? So we want assignments. Well, actually, wait, assignments are right precedence? Does that mean the left one is? No, because if we have multiple assignments, we want the ones on the right. Right. I want to do variable definitions. Left. Okay. Now, eventually that fixes our problem. It still has no clue what to do. Did write it, right? And these are the only two places it shows up. Which means, well, maybe I need to define it on the actual rule itself. Now, I don't know how to setting the rule there would change it. Actually, I don't need it. If I'm like direct ripping Rust rules, I don't need an assignment in the variable definition. That's something I can assert after the fact. And that solves our problem. Yep, generate works now, which means I can actually run cmake configure and build. Why is it taking so long to configure? Oh, there we go. Why is it apologizing? I don't like it when compilers apologize. File included from here. Yes, state ID does not name a type. So that is actually a problem, unfortunately. And the thing is, treesetter parser, this is relative to the file, so it should find it. If not defined, treesetter API H. Find these. So this does define treesetter API.h. And wait a second. TS symbol. I wonder if this treesetter H is the same as the other. Like, would it have these functions? No. It being red is a problem right now. Because it's not importing its header file here. Because the header guard is the exact same as the header guard for this API right here. Could get around that by putting this there. That there. Basically anything that would include that header file there. And then, do we still have API functions? Oh, the grammar file, no, that doesn't, I don't have an actual LSP working on that. So we don't have any error checking there, only formatting. Okay, and the API functions are still working. It's just using that API H. Does this use a different header guard? No, it uses the same header guard. Does it compile? Because if it compiles, I might not need to include the header in the CPP file. This will be so jank if it works, but so worth it if it does. Linker? No, TS state ID does not name a type document parser. Oh, it's in parser H. Hello, you are now here. Oh, so it still has the issue with the header. Did I not write it before building or something? So a lot of these sorry unimplemented non-trivial designated initializers not supported. There's probably a C language feature that is not working in C++. Yeah, get music back on. What are we in the mood for? I am more in the mood for, let's switch it over to C++ is an extension of C, but the problem is sometimes like the C things like deprecate stuff you can do in C. I don't know. It might be like an unimplemented type, which is a problem with the header file still. Which shouldn't be possible because actually here. What if I just did that? So none of the header files could deal with it or mess with it. Then I'm gonna go here, there, and I want just straight synthwave. Designated or none of them should be. Yeah, these look like validation errors. Like it's asserting stuff. Oh, that's the compiler I'm using. Move the dot and change equal to. Or put this code in extern C. See, that's the thing. If I extern see this, does it... Because I thought extern C was how you, like, say that these are things to export or things to import. Prevents name mangling, ensuring compatibility with C code. Define GNU C with missing field initializers. Maybe if I just manually add that compiler flag. Yeah, so I'm gonna try adding this flag. To specifically this build target. Is this a problem with linking or building? Building. So we'll see if that flag actually gets added and if it does anything. Because there's a possibility that the header file header definitions aren't working correctly for just, I guess, the C++. Like GNU C might be like GNU C++ in the C++ version. But I can't actually change the C file because it's auto-generated. Let's see if this is... I'm gonna try adding XC. Where's the XC flag? So it's only in 5.13 that we have issues. So it's these field initializers. Or most specifically the maps. It's complaining about that too. Dang it. That was gonna be a very very convenient way to deal with enumerators. Not TypeScript. Because currently the way that I'm doing parsing here is I manually define the enumerators myself, and then I'm since TreeSitter is supposed to be like a language agnostic API, the actual API isn't like specific to Brane script. It's would work for any language with any parser. So when I do these calls, I get either IDs that I don't know what they mean or strings back. And I much would prefer to use IDs because IDs are a lot faster. So at the start, what I do is I create lookup tables where I go, give me the ID for this string. Give me the ID for this string, this string, this string. And then I have a lookup table for, like, this enum, give me the ID for it. But then that's still a lookup table. I'd prefer to just go, like, ts node child by field ID, and then pass in an enum here instead of doing a field lookup table. Because creating these tables is like I have to manually do this, and I have to edit it so that it's in line with the grammar file. Now, I could just pass in strings, but there's no compile time checking on strings, which I want. Yeah, I'm doing this for performance reasons, but also if I had auto-generated enums in there, that would also mean that like I would have compile time checking as well, which I very much like compile time checking. I don't like having to run something and then a test to know that I coded it wrong from a structural level. I'm like very against that. I wonder if I can get this to generate with bindings. I have this. Why are the enums in the C file? Now it wants to be like to be a language agnostic. So it lets them initialize in the same order as the struct index length, so they're at least following that rule. I think, but the thing is, designated initializers like this should work in C++. Is it still treating it as a C file even when, like, can it tell that it's an included file? If I put this in here, comment that out. Then it like gives me warnings, but it works. In the same way that this gives me warnings, but works. So if I try compiling with that, will that work if it's in the C file? No, it doesn't. Non-trivial designated initializers not supported. But it does compile if it uses GCC. Oh wait, this is still parser C. Did I not write it? What? Sorry, unimplemented. Okay. So the problem is that these lists, these lookups, only work in C++. However, I am very stubborn though, so what I'm going to do is create a I have source and git ignore. I'm gonna add a extract enums Python script. Now what this is going to do is it's going to extract the enums that I want into a header file. Here, 1 second. I am going to... No, screw it. We're going to chat GPT this, because I am done. Absolutely done with this problem. Make a Python script that takes a C file as input, as well as the C file as input. Then from a list of enum names, extracts, defines a list of enum names, then extracts enum names, the file, and output rotation as input, then extracts the named enums into header file. So this is Fantasy by Carl Casey. Or WhiteBatAudio. I think I have the channel linked. Extracts the named enums into a header file. There you go. Do the thing for me. Boy, it's using a regex. Oh my. I would have just gone like, is there a match for this string with the name? Iterate until you find a closing bracket. Done. But this works. Maybe. Let's just check what our inputs are. So input C file, input, and then the rest of them are enum names. Okay, that works. And now from this CMake list, I'm going to copy the custom command, and the output of this is going to be parser enums. Why did you indent this? And this depends upon parser C. Actually, I'm gonna put this custom command. Why is this indented? Putting this custom command in the parser so I have more control over it. This will depend upon generate parser C. Maybe I should put this inside of the CMake file and then make anything depending upon the C file specifically depend upon the target instead, so I avoid those CMake weirdness things. I mean, if it runs the commands multiple times, it's fine. It's fine. And we're going to put this in the treesitter Brane script source directory. Source directory. Parser enums h. Yep. And the command is going to be Python. Is there a specific CMake execute Python? I know that there's like a fancy way to find Python. Here it is. Cool. So we're gonna do find package interpreter. Required, and then in our command here, we'll just put in the Python executable. Then we pass in that is a different path. I thought it was the same one. enums pi. Instead of, not instead of. I'm just wondering what the command line. Okay, so this is a regular command line. I will make the mistake of trusting the Google AI. So the first argument is, I believe, the C file? Yeah, the input C file. So that's going to be then we pass in the parser C. Alright, and what enums do we want to parse? I definitely want this TS symbol identifiers. We'll yoink that. We'll also take the field identifiers for sure. And those are like the main two. Oh, those are the only two. And we need to add dependencies. Parser enums. Now, if I go to parser document not document contents, document parser, and instead of including to include we'll include parser enums h in here. Let's try building, just like that. Come on, VC package, you're not that important. Then build failed immediately. Configure failed. Parser does not exist. The dependency does... Oh, come on. That's what the custom command is supposed to do. Oh, do I need to add a custom target? I need to figure out a way to get it to not run VC package install every single time. Like, you don't need to detect a compiler hash if you don't need to build anything. Technically, you don't need to run CMake if our build things haven't changed at all. Ooh! Wait a second. Extract. Where's my header file? Where's my header file? Oh, it's actually running it here. file name, directory name, or volume name. Syntax is incorrect. If Brane Engine is going to be the next sprint, you mean like the next thing I work on, or? Put parentheses around each thing instead of around the entire command, because I think that was messing it up. Ah. I mean, hopefully not. But I am a big fan of code generation, so... But only when it, only when it makes my life easier. Which in most cases it does. So we'll see if this can manage to even... Oh, wait a second. Did it generate it? Depths, source, parser enums H. Look at that! Very nice. That is going to make stuff so much easier. Like, unbelievably easier. Then the other thing that I should do here is, well, I'm including the source directory. I should also include bindings C as well. And then have it include reset or Brane script from the actual repository. It's not able to find... Oh, this is main trying to find it. Okay. Let me just make sure that it's a public include. Is the main. I mean, it should be able to find it. I did make the... Oh, I haven't rebuilt the build commands yet, since changing the visibility or inheritance of that include. So after that, so build failed because of the linker. Right, that's because I removed actually linking to tree sitter. I think that's the right way to... No, it's with dashes. Cool. It is working. Again. Wait a second, what was that? There's somebody up. I saw that in the camera. I see you, Sim. I see you flying. That's what's been going on. Oh. That is red stuff. Lose that pane. I have debug UI. There we go. See when the stack traces 300 plus lines of code you don't see? Hopefully never. You have debug info turned on. Does generated code not show up in the stack trace in Java? Because it does in C++. Was I doing right? I was looking at the result of the problem, or the program. Was expecting a module, but found a module. Is anything not in the extra? No. So it's saying everything is an error. It's not, everything is not supposed to be an error. Extra, everything is error. How long it takes to actually fix that. Come on, CMake. There you go. So I wonder what the problem with our... Dang, I have to stop streaming soon. Let's try to... I'll give myself 30 minutes. It goes up, but you can't look at the code. That sounds not ideal. Not the grammar JSON, we need the grammar JS. Then module mod. How is everything an error? Wait a second. The mod test module mod, then an ID, and then definitions on repeat. So do I have comments implemented? I do, or theoretically I do. So let's, where is example scripts? There they are. Let's open up if I comment out everything but just the module definition. How well does this run? Okay, so it's parsing module test. So it did actually detect that it's mod. but that it is a module. And then extra text type. Wait a second. So did it? Looks like my grammar is definitely wrong. So this regular expression here did not... Wait a second. Extras. Is this underneath extras? Error extra? But it's not extras. Array of tokens that may appear anywhere in the language, often used for whitespace and comments. I think regular comments should work, right? Then this closing brace should also be optional. Optional. Oh, that's funny. It's, detecting the star as part of like an actual comment instead of part of a regex. That's pretty funny. Might actually be able to just do dot. I wonder if that even builds. We'll see. Okay, it looks like the grammar is valid. Having a sequence there and the regex directly in the sequence. But wait. Why is mod showing up as a... I guess it parsed correctly. And it was... Yes, do comments show up as errors? No, it shouldn't. See. need an example. Like, this is spaces. And that's working. Oh wait, did I not go back far enough? That as second. Maybe I needed to scope that. Also put it in there while I'm at it. Regexes are not my strong suit. Okay, so same problem. Has everything as an extra. I had at least one where I got the module working. Consider. Let's see. This is the true sitter repo for parsing C, which I would assume. Oh, there it is. Would have a valid extras for multi-line comments. I'm just gonna yoink the new line as well. And let's see where comment is. There it is. What Oh, is this just under rules? Like it might be. So we'll just put it as a normal rule. That's they literally have a Stack Overflow post linked in the grammar file right next to the comments. So let's see what the Stack Overflow comment, because it looks like this is a link to a specific comment. Okay, no. Okay, so this is, according to the Stack Overflow poster, the best regex ever. It's not even the accepted answer, and it's linked to from that Git repo. That is funny. But theoretically, that fixes our problems. We just fix it or copy paste it. Indeed. When you link to your sources. They're not the accepted answer. Wonder why it keeps opening up the thing there. Okay, so let's see how this did. Alright, so we have our module that parsed correctly, and then we have a comment which parsed correctly. Oh, I guess it's saying that it's fine if it appears anywhere. Oh, that's funny. It has the end as an extra. Is it part of the pipeline node, though? Looks like it's part of the pipeline. It does show as an extra, though. So I guess since extra makes it so that it can appear anywhere in the grammar, doesn't mean it's ignored. It just means it's valid for the token to show up anywhere in the grammar. So that means I'll have to be careful to actually use fields everywhere, because you can't count on the index of something to be correct, because the comment could make it that the index changed, because you see it's like 3 and then it's 4 and it goes on to the unnamed one. So if I had a comment in here, it would change the index of the thing. It doesn't change the named well, I think the second index was the named index. Then again, ID. I don't know, I can't remember what the second index was. I think the second index was supposed to be like named variables or named nodes or whatever. Anyway, that is something to figure out another day. I am at the time where I need to end the stream, unfortunately. But we got comments working. We didn't get the rest of the grammar working. That will have to be a tomorrow thing. But I'm very happy with getting getting the enums split out into a header file, that is going to make working with the grammar significantly easier once we actually start parsing it. So, yep, I am going to sign off for now. For those of you who stuck around, thank you, and I will see you